Hello, this is Aaron Maller from Parallax, and this is just a quick workflow video to go through a little process that we're using on a model where we're converting exterior walls to the multi-wall approach from the single wall approach. We're also doing a number of other just standardization and wall type changes. So essentially what we're going to do is I've got a schedule here that is just particular wall types, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually use temporarily hide or isolate elements based on a schedule that is only the walls. That's going to let me find all the wall types that I need to trade out. And in this particular example, we're going to leave the storefront ones the type that they are. So we're going to hide those using temporarily hide element. And keep in mind that a few minutes ago, we did isolate element, not isolate category. That's going to become important in a couple of minutes here. So the first thing we'll do is we'll knock out the easy interior walls, and this is just a matter of knowing that we're switching between a couple of different standards. So I'm going to basically swap that wall to the correct standard, and then I'm going to use temporarily hide to get rid of that one. We'll select the next row of interior walls, and we're going to swap those as well for the same wall in a different standard. And then we'll also temporarily hide those. So we're systematically removing the walls for the ones that we want them to be. So we're going to take the C6 2x6 walls, and we're going to go to WAA6, which is our parallax version of that same wall on the interior side. And then we'll hide those. And now we're getting down to the last couple of types that we need to do. So we'll take what's called the J4s, and those are going to become DO40s, or DO44s in this case. So we'll swap those. And then we'll also hide those. Now we're down to basically our CMUs and our exterior walls, which are the ones that we need to break up. So first we'll knock out the CMU walls pretty quickly by jumping into this group. And these are going to become H8s. The interior that are 2 hours, and then we'll get to the cool part, which is how to actually split up the walls on the outside of the building. So we'll finish that group and hide it. You'll notice that we're not cleaning up everything because these models are pretty early on, so they still have some design changes and issues to be worked out. So that's not really in our scope at the moment. So we're going to just finish that swap as well and then hide those. Now what we want to check on is, do we still have any of the M2s visible? And we do. So we'll select them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select one of them again in the view, and now I'm going to do select all just visible in view. I don't want to select them from the schedule because I just hit a bunch of them that were in a group. And here we're going to swap these to the H8, and again we'll say also make them 2 hours. Now we're basically down to just our stucco walls. So if you look here, these are all the Parallax standard walls, and then we have these 29 here. Now here's where things get interesting. If we just consider that right now it's a wall that has an interior substrate, and then a stud, and then an exterior substrate, and some stucco on the exterior, and we consider the location line of these walls, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to switch all of the location lines to the interior face. And that's because we're going to replace it with a wall that only has this on it. Then we're going to switch the location line to the exterior, and we're going to do a copy and paste align to same place to put the exact same wall over the top of the original wall. But because our location line is here, we're then going to flip it so that it's now outside the entire wall. Now it'll be completely the wrong wall type, but then we'll be able to take the second wall and switch it into our stucco wall. Now this gets a little interesting because then the location lines are backwards, but if you really want to, you can then put the location line on the center line of the new finish and hit spacebar and flip them around. But there are a couple little nuances doing this that make it kind of fun to watch. So let's try this real quick. If we select all of our stucco walls and we say, let's flip to the, not flip, let's just move our location line to the finish face interior. Now we're going to switch these to our exterior WDA, which is two different sizes of JIP on the exterior wall. So we'll make that wall type change happen. So we've now ripped the stucco off of the wall. And we'll say, okay, now here's where it gets cool. Now we're going to flip it to the finished face. Oh, sorry, before we do that, we're going to copy and paste a line to the exact same place. This is going to double up all of the stucco walls. So we're going to go from the, I didn't see the count that we have, but you'll also notice that a whole bunch of new objects popped up. And this is the part that's kind of cool. Because we cut and pasted, or copy and pasted walls that had hosted objects, all of those hosted objects have now shown up. We're going to skip that for a second. We're going to flip the location line to the exterior, and now we're going to spacebar to flip all of those walls over, which is going to make Revit just kind of freak out for a minute. And now, without taking another look at it, we're going to switch this down to our new stucco exterior finish wall type that's just 7/8 of an inch thick, and now we've completed the full flip into that wall type. There is a little cleanup that we have to do. We'll dive into that in just 1 second. But here's the part that's really cool. The reason we selected the walls in the schedule and did isolate element earlier instead of isolate category is when you do that, Revit will show new objects that are created because you did a copy and paste. So right now, all of our storefront walls are not showing, just the ones that were created when we duplicated the walls. So right now, we can do select all storefronts that are visible in this view, and all 114 of these shouldn't even be here. So we can just delete them out, and you'll see that the holes are still there because the original ones that we hit earlier are still present. Now all we have to do is the actual cleanup work. And this is kind of interesting because of how we cut and pasted them. The backup walls are going to be trying to join with all the finishes. So this part's a little sucky. You just have to start pulling them back and then reconfiguring the joinery. And then you also have to redo your join geometry on your backups to your finishes. And if you work your way around the building doing that, your join geo. And then here we've got a funky join condition that, again, everything will be confused just because of how the copy and paste works. So we yank everything back from the corner. And then we join our backup walls. And then I always set these to disallow, so I'm doing that even though they weren't like that originally. Now we use our snap to ortho like so. And our finish is now complete around the corner. We're missing a join geo over here. So we'll keep doing that. And we will keep going. And again, there'll be another join down here that we just need to pull out our backup wall and trim. But it's kind of a neat trick if you're not aware that isolate elements in a view will allow new objects to show up, and you can use that to your advantage when you're doing wall type splitting, because when the hosted objects accidentally show up, you can select all visible in view and kind of delete them confidently. So that's all. It's just a fun little workflow. We'll keep going around the building. We'll want to go up to level 2 and level 3 just to make sure that we get all the finishes done correctly. And once that's all set, this model will be ready to go.